Welcome to another video on the 1D&D playtest material. Today we're going to take a look at the Bard class, and we're going to break down the new abilities they have and just what's changed between the editions. We're going to start off by taking a look at the Bard's class table. Now if you look on here, you can see that the proficiency bonus progression stays the same. Some class features change, but we'll get to those as we look at each level individually. The Bardic dice progression stays the same, as does all of the spells, the spell slots in the table. So there's nothing major changing in that. The next thing we're going to take a look at is the vitals, what I call the vitals for the classes. That's the proficiencies and skills and hit points and stuff. And if we look at the Bard's information, you can see that the hit points are still a D8 plus Constitution modifier. So no change there. Saving throws are the same with Dexterity and Charisma, skills, Deception, Performance, Persuasion, or 3 skills of your choice. The only change in any of these is the weapons, where you have simple weapons is the only proficiency they have. Bards used to have access to rapiers and longswords as well, but that has been removed from their proficiency. Okay, now let's take a look at some of the features that the Bards get, starting at level 1 with Bardic Inspiration. Bardic Inspiration in 5th edition could be handed out to other players to use at their discretion, an extra D6 at first level, and it goes up at higher levels, and they could use it to add to a D20 roll. There's a slight change in the 1D&D playtest, and how that works is in the Bard uses their reaction to use the Bardic Inspiration dice instead of it being on the player that was being inspired. This would cause a lot less instances of the Bardic dice going unused because the players that they were given to had forgotten about them. The other change is that they can also be used to heal as a reaction when another player gets hit. Those are two pretty big changes that make the Bardic Inspiration much more useful than it was before. The next level 1 feature that Bards get is Spellcasting. This is really the backbone of what the Bard is. They have been given prepared spells, and you can see from here that they gain spells from the Arcane list. The Arcane list, they've moved spells from different lists by class to 3 spell lists: Arcane, Divine, and Primal. And the Bard pulls from the Arcane spell list. However, you can also see that the schools of magic are only Divination, Enchantment, Illusion, and Transmutation. This overall leads to a loss of a few spells that the Bard used to have access to. Those spells can be seen right here. Those were all spells that the Bard used to have access to in 5th edition that they no longer have access to with the new spell list. So at level 2, the Bard gains a couple of abilities. The first one being Expertise. This is an ability that they gained at level 3 in 5th edition, so it got a little bump by moving ahead 1 level. The other feature that you get at 2nd level is Song of Restoration. In 5th edition, Song of Restoration would allow you to heal 1d6 hit points to your party members during a short rest. However, in the playtest material, it says when you reach certain levels in this class, you add a specific spell to your Song of Restoration, as shown on the Songs of Restoration table. You always have that spell prepared, and it doesn't count against the number of spells you can prepare. This is nice in that it adds Healing Word, Lesser Restoration, Mass Healing Word, Freedom of Movement, and Greater Restoration to your spell list. However, I have some questions. First one is that it says you add specific spells to your Song of Restoration. So does that mean that it costs a spell slot because you're using a spell? It doesn't really tell us. The other concern I have is whether or not the effects are cumulative. If you're at 4th level, you have access to Lesser Restoration and Healing Word. Do you have to choose between the two? Is it somebody needs Lesser Restoration so nobody gets healed, or is it the person that needs the Lesser Restoration is out of luck because everybody else needs some extra healing? And then my third concern is the addition of Mass Healing Word on here at level 6. Does that mean that if you do choose the Healing Word at level 2, you're only healing one person during the short rest? One person gets an extra D4 during a short rest as opposed to the whole party? Because if it affects the whole party, then there'd be no reason to have Mass Healing Word on here. And if it only affects one member of the party, then an extra D4 of hit points isn't all that useful of an ability. The next feature specific to bards that you get is at level 5 when you gain the Jack of all Trades ability. This is an ability that you used to gain at 2nd level, and it got pushed back a little bit, so it's a little bit of a debuff for that. At 7th level, the bard gains Font of Inspiration. Font of Inspiration allows the bard to regain all uses of their Bardic Inspiration dice on a short or long rest. It also allows that whenever a 1 is rolled on the Inspiration die, the use of Bardic Inspiration is not expended. At 9th level, the bard gains Expertise. This is 1 level sooner than they got this in 5th edition. Next, at level 11 and again at level 15, the bard gains Magical Secrets. Magical Secrets used to allow you to pick 2 spells, and those spells would be added to your list of bard spells. Now you get to pick 2 spell lists, or rather you pick 1 spell list at level 11 and another one at level 15. This is 1 level later than you got them in 5th edition, but because you're picking spell lists, you have a lot more spells with which to select from, because you also get to change them out on a long rest. So instead of picking those spells and then those are your spells, now you can pick after a long rest to select different spells for that slot. And the last ability that the bard gets at level 18 is Superior Bardic Inspiration. This allows a bard to regain 2 used Bardic Inspiration dice whenever initiative is rolled. And that's going to be it. That's what the bard gets, and the different class abilities in the 1D&D playtest material. I think that there's been some really good changes. I think that Bardic Inspiration has become much more useful along with Magical Secrets. I feel that they have limited some of the spells that the bard has access to more than necessary. However, overall, I think the new bard would be a lot of fun to play. And that's going to be it for this video. So until the next one, keep on hacking the dungeon.